Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Oh, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Sharing a lovely message somebody read this morning. Kali Gibran's poem. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has travelled from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages, and in front of her she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear, because that is where the river will know. It is not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. What wise wisdom from the great poet. I take away three things. There is no going back. Embrace the present. Past is a dream. Future is uncertain. Develop the art of letting go. Things, pride, emotions, and sometimes people is the only way of becoming something bigger. Many times we see our own lives from the lens of details. We see it as a series of specific, disjointed events. Zoom out of the details. Try to get the big picture. It is liberating. Life is not about disappearing into the ocean, but about becoming the ocean. Individual becoming universal. Two things we should remember. We cannot go back. We have travelled all the way now. That is why this human birth has been given to us. Durlabam prayamevai tadu Devanugraha hetukam Manishyattvam mumukshyattvam ahavirushamshaya. when the poet says, we cannot go back. Out of Swami Ranganathanji says, we have paid highest currency to get this. We cannot afford to lose this opportunity. We must try in as many ways as possible. Initially we try as we have been told by Mahatma. If it doesn't suit us, we try our own method. They have not said only this and that. There is no dictum, there is no doubt. But the problem is, I am reluctant. The Papa used to say, to take the leap. You are on the side of the banks of the river, but you hesitate. Your intellect says, will you be able to cross? Will you get drowned? No? Yes. So this poem makes us realize we have no choice. We have come from there, we have to join there. We are just looking back and see how we have come. We hardly think about that I should become one with the ocean. Very there. The sense of individuality will get totally effaced. The Mataji used to say, you are coming before the portals of the ashram and then shower praise on Papa and then go back. Nobody wants to get, because what you have been hugging as yours, you will have to lose. You are worried. What you have been hugging as yours, you will have to lose. But actually you gain the whole world. These are all some of the things which we should as Karagas, we should keep on pondering. Coming back to chanting the password to connect the divine within. Chanting is for exclusive remembrance. Devotee, what is the sense in constantly repeating the name of God, as every religion asks us to do? How can it succeed if we do nothing and ask for nothing? Papa, by constantly repeating the name of God who resides in our heart, gradually we become conscious of it. That consciousness purifies our heart, fills our mind and senses with a strange and powerful light of the divine, which eradicates all the low desires lurking within us. Ultimately, we become perfectly conscious that God is dwelling within us. This is the greatest gain. By such remembrance, we become aware of His light and His power within us. So yesterday, Papa made us to dwell more and more on the word remembrance. Where normally, remembrance is something, you have seen, you have heard, you have experienced. And that you are trying to again remember. Repeat. That which we have not seen, how are we to remember? That which we have not experienced, how are we to remember? So then, the satsang, they have offered us. It is true, we have not experienced. But at the same time, we know that it is there. Nobody can deny our existence. Finished. That is enough. Sat, the Sat essence. Nobody can deny our existence. The beingness, the amness, the arness, or whatever you call it. Where from it comes? Though we have not directly experienced, we know it is there. So to dwell on it more and more, we can use the word remembrance. And wherever we have developed, suppose a Saguna aspect, a form has been given. So we remember, the moment we say Lord Krishna, we have an idea, Lord Rama, Lord Anjaneya. So the remembrance is there. We bring that form before us and then we try to assert that form is there in everybody. The form also represents the formless power. So there are many ways by which this remembrance can be understood. So now it's Saguna and Nirguna aspects. A Bhaktottama, a Bhakta. The Saguna Bhakta definitely remembers the form. But we are not given importance for this constancy in remembering. So if it is a Saguna form of God, suppose we constantly remember 24/7 that He is there behind every word, every thought, every action. Perfectly alright. Suppose we are unable to concentrate, intellect will come and give us so many explanations and drag us away. Then simply this, existence, consciousness. We become conscious of something. What is that conscious? The knowing principle. Through many of our poems we know the eye of the eye, ear of the ear, mind of the mind. What could be that? We have not experienced, we have not seen. Still, we know it is there. So, Nama chanting it helps us both the Saguna and Nirguna aspects of the Lord. That's what he says. By constantly repeating the name who resides in our heart, gradually we become conscious. Initially, it may come and go during that particular period. Nama chanting may stop. But constancy and remembrance is to be developed. Throughout the waking state, it cannot be possible to chant. Whatever said and then some activity will be there. It can be minimized, but some activity will be there. So there will be gaps. So we try to remember the power behind everything. Again, when we go deeply, we may get more and more clarity on the word remembrance. So Papa wanted us to have the constant remembrance. From intellectual acceptance to experience.
Our person is going on. Our mind is here only. It is not thinking God only, remembrance only. How is that? Of course, there will be different aspects of that what do. Maybe. But are we not fully with God? How is that?
To be very frank and blunt, no. Even during that time, there will be a lot of gaps and pause moments. Some diversion will be there. Intensity, no. If the intensity is there, you are unaware of every other thing, only on that. Then that means you will not be aware that you are there. Just like when you go for a movie and sit there. Throughout the 3 hours period, definitely 2.5 hours you are not there. You are one with the scene. That much of concentration the scene will take us. You become one with the scene. But actually when you hear this person, this is so simple. There will be so many such past moments. But relatively this will help us more and more on this. And how do we know? Does it leave any deep impression in our mind? That is the yardstick for our concentration. Every time we read, at that time, next day, what was it that we discussed yesterday? Very difficult. Because we don't do any homework. We don't remember because at the time of hearing, that much intensity is not there. Otherwise, why should we have so many persons? One person we cannot have. Think about it. So the mind is always, it goes on. That is, but still, with all that, what you call limitation, we still remember certain quotations, certain incidents, certain things that have happened in a saint's life, or anybody whom we admire or appreciate, just think about it. How does it get stamped in your heart? It is because of your concentration on that particular life. It has left a deep impression. That is why even when you repeat, you are reliving those moments. Such type of constancy is necessary. And Papa said constancy, it is that constant. Ram Nam chanting for decades together we are doing it now.
What's the way? What way out?
We pray for intensity, that's all. We are not praying.
And also intensity may not be there. What else do we expect to ask you?
Dampness of the wood is there. We have to make it dry, you know. Papa bluntly says, because you want everything, along with that you also want God as well. It is not exclusive. The previous chapter, what is the sense in constantly repeating the name of God? This has been captioned as chanting for exclusive remembrance. So we keep it as an ideal. No? We keep it as an ideal and strive for it, keep on striving for it. And when something happens, we repair it, that's all. Yesterday night at 9:30 he was telling how the tree fell here without harming anybody. And today when they have to remove it, the sound will be there. No? Naturally it will be there. So behind everything, suppose we go back and see, he was telling how people used to sit there, you know, our elderly people, they used to sit there every evening. The workers used to be there. But God ensured that nobody is harmed. So this gives a deep impression. So the constancy means when somebody says something, does it leave a deep impression in us? And what happens then? God's grace, His love for His creation. He had to see that the time has come for the tree to go. We used to watch when we walked from here to Sadhana Kudir. There are a couple of coconut trees, you know. The old one will definitely fall, but it does not. The moment you have passed, it will fall.
Don't harm you.
Just to see that, there is a saying, good old days, they will never do that. That is the Mother Nature, she is teaching us. Knowingly, she will never do that. As far as possible, she will ensure. You may say it doesn't have mind, it doesn't have this and that. No, it's not like that. In our lifetime, we have seen many incidents where it has just fallen immediately after we fall.
I agree. The moment we go out, it's harder. Taking a big sound behind.
It is not accidental. So that every time when we see that, we see it. There is a beautiful quotation of Papa, Read and reread. Magnificent. Mother Nature. He says you don't have to give him the lectures will come here. And you don't know. So when we repeat the name, should we do it with the sense that we are going nearer to God, or should we do so in a sense of unity with God or with the world, or should we do so in an attitude of surrender to God, or should we unite all the three? Devotee asks, when we repeat the name of God, should we do it with the sense that we are going nearer to God, number one? Should we do so in a sense of unity with God, with the world? Number 2. Should we do so in an attitude of surrender to God? Or should we unite all the three? Going nearer, unity, and surrender. Prabhupada says, Ramdas has already said that when we are repeating the name of God, we must be conscious that we are repeating the name of one who is within us, who is our true being and existence. We must keep this central fact in our mind when taking his name. Then the practice will gradually make us aware of his existence within us. Samidhya and then Sanidhya. At the beginning we are not aware of this, but we intellectually accept the idea that God dwells within us, and then we take his name. The association with him is there mentally, and it grows into an experience when we actually feel his presence by constantly hammering into the mind that God whom we aspire to see is within us, and the name we repeat is his name. It's simple but very clear. No? We'll again read. Ramdas has already said that when we are repeating the name of God, we must be conscious that we are repeating the name of one who is within us, who is our true being and existence. Initially it will be difficult, but we have to keep on writing. Because we have habituated our mind just to repeat. Prabhupada did not tell us at the beginning. When somebody said mind, the concentration is not there, he simply said, concentration or no concentration, check. So at that time the purpose was to habituate our mind. Instead of talking something else, we will chant. When it gains momentum, then this aspect also should be introduced. Otherwise we will be saved in the same, what momentum we have created. Chanting will be going on, mind will be going on elsewhere. Probably that is the main hurdle all of us are facing. But this aspect, bluntly he says, it was not given due consideration by us. We did not ask ourselves, what is happening to me? In spite of my chanting so many years, I have not felt the nearness of him. The rest of the things probably I may be doing better. During my non-chanting period and the chanting period, not non-chanting, the time when we were not at all involved in chanting, and the time when we got involved in chanting, partial chanting or daily chanting, there might be so many things for us to feel good about it. But as far as going nearer to him, feeling his presence, has it helped us? There are so many indirect benefits we have got by chanting. At that particular time, we don't go for anything, we go there immediately. At 11:30 to 12:15, we go to the Bhajan hall. And with that background, we attend the Arati also. We may not know the meaning. Mind may be going elsewhere also, but mind is also on some. During that period, there may not be 100% concentration, but there will be some concentration. Otherwise, why should you again go daily? Very some intangible. Some indirect, I wouldn't say that the direct only. Direct benefit is that you feel nearer and nearer and nearer. So now is the time for us to think, how do we really improve the quality in chanting? Quality time, this is called quality time. Where, we feel refined, we feel some inexplicable sense of feeling stays with us, and the moment we remember that inexplicable feeling, again we are enjoying it. So Ramdas has already said that when we are repeating the name of God, We must be conscious that we are repeating the name of one who is within us, who is our true being and existence. We must keep this central fact in our mind when taking this name. Intellectual yoga. Then the practice will gradually make us aware of his existence within us. We need not immediately ask how and why. The process will give us, We should have faith in the words of our Master. And that process itself will give us the revelation. Suppose we want to conceptualize everything, what we have found is, it becomes a non-starter. We always think about the concept. So better we will stop with that. And then we start with
I have faith in you to do it.
I
have faith in you.
Faith, 100%. Because he is not talking from textual knowledge. He is talking from his experience. That is how he scaled the heights. So we try, Forget about what has happened so far. The time has come now, he is reminding us. It's alright. You have done this much. You have travelled this much. Just the poet says, you have travelled this much. Now your idea is to jump into the ocean and become one with it. You are nearing the ocean now. So he is within us, and that is our true being and existence. The one which, in the impersonal aspect, you can say that it is the one which makes us to enjoy this Rama chanting. That is our true being and existence. The knowing principle in us, the consciousness in us. The association with him is there mentally, and it grows into an experience when we actually feel his presence. By constantly hammering into the mind that God whom we aspire to see is within us, and the name we repeat is his name. The object of repeating the name is to purify the mind, and thereby get the awareness of him within us. This also we don't know, all these days. We have been asked to chant the name, we have been chanting. Somewhere we read if we chant the 12 crores, 13 crores. Somewhere we chant, no, if we chant 6 crores, 3 crores. It is in our mind, So we concentrate on the count for some time. We forget that Papa has specifically said that you don't have to make the count. It is a way of testing us. If we are keeping the count, that means we don't have the faith in his words. When he says that you will reach the 6 crores and you don't have to make a count, automatically you will get it when you complete that. What sort of chanting? It is a chanting like this. It may be there, inclusive of this chanting also. Because this type of chanting is also necessary to take to serious chanting. Loose chanting may be necessary initially to take to serious chanting. So we are not belittling. We look back to our own childhood days, We did not know history, we did not know language, we did not know this and that. But we were told, right, A, B, like that, A for apple, B for something. Like that, we were told, we repeated. The teacher did not say that. Why we are told that? 1 into 2 is 2, 2 into 2 is 4, 4 into 2 is 8. I don't know now whether that table is there. We have to repeat. We have to close our eyes and then we have to repeat. Gunagostakam. We are learned by heart. At that time we did not know its utility at all. We did not know. Later on we came to know its use. Similarly, we were asked to chant the name, we chanted. It is not a waste. That is why Papa elsewhere says nothing will go in vain. So then, the object of repeating the name is to purify the mind and thereby get the awareness of Him within us. Otherwise, you and I will not be hearing these words. If we have not developed some affinity towards this chanting. This we have heard, we have been doing, no. Read something else. No. He made us to chant without any background. When we come to the ashram, we join the program, automatically everybody chant, we also chant. Just like everybody gets up, we get up, everybody does the bowing down, we do that. Everybody moves from one to another, all these mechanically we are doing it. Later slowly we start looking at what this portrait stands for, what this ritual stands for, and then start slowly enjoying. That is why when we pass through this, we automatically look at the inspiring form of Papa and go down. How did we do that? The object of repeating the name is to purify the mind and thereby get the awareness of Him within us. That is the purpose. Now only we can understand how this. God then becomes not a matter of mere intellectual acceptance, but an object of intimate and close experience. Because our communion with Him through the name becomes so perfect that gradually we lose the distinction between ourselves and Him, and free from all desires and outgoing tendencies, find union with Him. We then realize that the light of God is nothing but the light that comes from our own soul. The light means, awareness. Initially, we will not be able to understand the word light. Because the moment you say light, we will take the literal meaning. What illumines during the evening, in the night. According to us, that is light. Wherever there is any darkness, to remove the darkness, we use something which is called light. But when we go through Yajnavalkya, when we go through Bhagavad Gita, when we go through Upanishad, same word is echoed there. Natatra Pudyo Bhadya Chandra Tarakam. In that Upanishad, how beautifully he mentions about the light of light. Jyotisham Joshi in Bhagavad Gita it says, then we see that the light of light, light of light. For people who are hearing this for the first time, to understand this light, easy way is, we are on an Amavasi day, pitch darkness everywhere, there is no sound, you are in your room, wide awake, but you don't need a light to know that you are there. That's light. You don't need any external factor to know that you are there. What is that light? Awareness, consciousness. So he says the light. Actually, when the light dawns on us, we cannot but see Him everywhere. As we become aware of Him within us, we become conscious of Him without us also. We see a strange and all-pervading light wherein all beings and creatures seem to be so many bubbles appearing and disappearing. Vijay Swamiji writes, consciousness, the all-pervading consciousness is there and all are forms floating in the world. All-pervading consciousness is there in which all are floating. And Papa used the word the great void, same thing. All are floating in us. Now also, the great void. All of us are floating in this sense of individual. Unless and until we become one with the cosmic consciousness, the individual consciousness seems to be floating. So Nama is the password through which we enter into this mansion. Life. So why chanting is all these dimensions are there. At least one dimension is there. It will help us. That is the purpose of this satsang. That is the purpose of sharing Papa's words on these lines now. Because otherwise we may think somebody, so many people who have retired, who have no other work, they come here and they do this chanting. No. Chanting is a process by which we connect ourselves to Him. It need not necessarily be through the congregational chanting. It can be through congregational chanting, it can be through individual chanting. Individual chanting will become more effective. But initially congregational chanting will only give us some idea about this, When we enter this ashram, we all remember, we don't have any idea about this. Immediately also, whenever we had chances of get together, either the guru or the preceptor will say, you render some bhajan or chant. In our case, in Chennai, before we came to ashram in 1964, we had the good fortune of attending Swami Chinmayanandaji's Gita lectures in early 60s. Before Swamiji arrives and starts, there will be Mahamantra chanting. Such a beautiful tune. We don't know the meaning, but it sets our mind, restful. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Let's imagine we go from office, we enter into the Yajnashala, 400, 500 people will be the minimum to begin with. By the time Swamiji comes, it will be more than 600 or 1000. But these 400, 500 people closing their eyes and chanting in this tune, automatically nobody will discipline us. We also go there, silently go and sit. A soothing effect. Beyond that, we did not know anything about it. At times we also remember, Swamiji himself used to take the lead. Whenever he passes through some topic, he will immediately chant this, the entire audience will be chanting. And it will be thrilling. For the split second, we are transported into a realm where we cannot explain anything. Only that much we know. We left it like that. Some residue is there in our mind. But when we come to ashram, and nobody, unlike now, there was nothing like that. Only during that 11:30 to 12:15 that program was there. Bhajan used to be there. Then this Nama chanting, nobody introduces this Nama. Nobody tells us this should be your attitude. Straight away plunging into it. And automatically you go there, whatever may be your preoccupation. 11:30 you cannot but remain in the Abhayan Hall. And slowly starts. Automatic. 11:30 means somehow wherever we are there in the ashram, we will somehow be there. Similarly in the evening also. The evening all programs. Immediately after our supper, on those days there was no supper, we used to get it at the room. So immediately after taking that milk and bread, and then we rush up to Bhajan Hall. May not be there, there may not be a big crowd, but still, the calm and serene atmosphere, preceded by a couple of bhajans, and then the Ram Nam. Intellect does not play its part at all. Intellect is for keeping quiet. So now we understand all those things, because we did not conceptualize, we started enjoying it. And during the 7 days here, night, Akanda Annam will be there. We never used to miss. Next day morning we have to work here also. But that will not deter us. Half an hour then, half an hour later. Half an hour then, half an hour later. On our top voice. Next day there will be some problem with the throat. We know that. But the joy we get. Pujan Swami also used to come by 11:30. For one round, he will be there spending some time with us and then go back. Enthusiastically. Half an hour when we come out and sit outside, ladies will come. Again then we go. After 1 o'clock, the crowd will be less and less and less. At times there will be only 3 or 4 people. And by 4 o'clock people will start again coming. But when we go back to those days, what was it that prompted us to go? There is an inexplicable joy. We were aligning with our original being. We did not know that. We then realize that the light of God is nothing but the light that comes from our own soul. That is called inner alignment. Actually, when the light dawns on us, we cannot but see Him everywhere. As we become aware of Him within us, we become conscious of Him without us also. We feel His presence everywhere. The highest stage. Wherever joining the ocean. We see a strange, all-pervading light wherein all beings and creatures seem to be so many bubbles appearing and disappearing. Next question. Through the forms to the formless, devotee, does the mantra bind us down to a particular manifestation of divinity? For example, if we take the mantra of Krishna, does it not bind us to Krishna only? For the time being, for the sake of concentration, you must be attached to one form or manifestation of God. That Ishta, the adored deity of yours, on your surrendering yourself to Him, takes you beyond name and form and makes you realize the all-pervading, infinite, eternal existence of God. It's radical, How Purindardas puts it, how Tukaram, Namdevi, how Sagaprabha, how Punta in Kerala. In every state there will be some Bhakti. Here Papa clarifies, for the time being, for the sake of concentration, you must be attached to one form or manifestation of God. We cannot conceive a stage where we straight away concentrate on the nameless formless. Because we have not had that. Ever since we started knowing ourselves as ourselves, we see, there is a puja room in our house. Yeah. And initially we see our parents going and doing some ritual there. Then slowly mother or father will ask us also to come and sit there. Initially we watch what they are doing. They are looking at a photo or an image, doing puja or something, some arati, some agarbati, some naivedyam. Every day when we cook, mother takes religiously and places it there before. One tulsi leaf before. We don't know the reason. So we cannot conceive a state where what would have been our fate if we had to go there, sit there, God is within you, God is everywhere, pray to Him and come back. You will not be able to conceive that. Even if we are told, we cannot understand anything at all. So that is why Papa must be attached. That Ishta, the adored deity of yours, on your surrendering yourself to Him. takes you beyond name and form and makes you realize the all-pervading infinite eternal existence of God. This can be made clear by when we go through the archana we do to the Ishta. For example, when we were asked when we were children to repeat Vishwadharana, grandfather will insist that we should be very clear while chanting. Everything should be clear. Not rather than his speed we should chant. He will never agree. We did not know. But later on when we start knowing, why should we chant 1000 names? Two advantages are there. Some of the names you get aligned, you get joy, you understand the meaning. And in another one, he gives you choices. Everything is but his name. 2 days back we read everything bears his name. You remember? Every creation, every creation has a name pasted on it. God.
Stamped.
Stamped, correct, stamped on it. So to understand that, first we know 1000 days, not to be limited to 1000 days. Number one. Another advantage is, some will definitely enable you to go to the form. Suppose it is all-pervading. How can that form become all-pervading? Sarvavyapi. Sarvavyapi-tvam. We know the air is Sarvavyapi. It cannot be contained, it cannot be limited. But does the name, air has name and form? We can only feel its experience. Then only it can become, otherwise we localize it. So the Nama helps us. In fact, we understood the word Vyapanam only because of that. Think about it. So either we can concentrate on the particular form and that form will gradually take us to the formless. This is what Papa's Bhakti, Para Bhakti stage. Not localized. Only there. No. So for the time being, for the sake of concentration, you must be attached to one form of manifestation of God. That Ishta, the adored deity, on your surrendering yourself to him. What is that surrendering? You accept that he is the all-pervading inner reality. Inner and outer reality. He is behind every thought, every word, every deed, every creation, every situation, every object. Tomorrow we can play the Brahmajnana. That will help us. Long time, but how do you? We can only play, How? How can you show? In this one. Laptop. Small problem. We will try. Then now, there, no, it is under repair. No? To make it function, it will take 1 week. So for the past 1 year, 1.5 years, they have not used it at all. So we don't know its condition. Here, we can do only in laptop, we can try. Why we say that, Brahmajnanavali, when we, with this background, every word will become clear to us. Asangoham, punapunaha, Sachidananda Rupoham, Mahamevaham Veya. Pratyak Chaitanya Rupoham, Shashvat Ananda Mevata, Akhandananda Rupoham, Mahamevaham Veya. Like that it goes on, Now each and every word we will understand. The Sarvavyapitam is there. So initially we have to learn without knowing all these things. That will take us to a broader spectrum. So for the time being, for the sake of concentration, you must be attached to one form of manifestation. That Ishta, the adored deity of yours, on your surrendering yourself to him, takes you beyond name and form, makes you realize the all-pervading, infinite, eternal existence of God. When you want to climb upstairs, you require some means to do it. A rope, a flight of steps, or a lift. So long as you are climbing by the help of a rope, you have not to think about the staircase or any other means. For the time being, for you, the rope is the only way which takes you up. Some others may use either staircase or the lift. Though going by different means, all reach the same upper floor at the end and meet there. When they reach the destination, they all give up the rope, the staircase, the lift, as the case may be. These aids are of no significance to them after reaching the goal. So Krishna's name and form are meditated upon only for attaining the impersonal Krishna, who is residing in our hearts and pervading everywhere. He has assumed a form for the devotees to concentrate upon. By itself, the devotees who have accepted that name and form as their guide will be raised beyond them into its vast, infinite, and manifest existence. It is only then that the soul attains liberation and peace. We remember Vinobaji's words, Let us not think that Krishna was a historical person. Krishna is within us. He is the indwelling spirit. Like Arjuna, if we hand over the reins of our mind to him, he will lead us to victory, and he will make us know. He will give us the Gita. He will make us hear the Gita. He says, Tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara idyata. Therefore, at all times and in all conditions, remember me and fight the battle. That remembrance, that light. So, Papa beautifully mentioned, he has quoted his own experience. Because as you know, he was a devotee of Krishna. But he had the maturity or God poured his grace on him to ask that I don't want this form, because this form will come and go. I can remember only through this form then. No, I want to remember you always. For that you have to become formless. At all times. The person of a different faith, he cannot. So we want something that is universally acceptable. A person who has absolutely no faith in any of these things, there also the truth is there, We are trying to find out the truth there also. Then only it becomes universal. Otherwise it will be only for Krishna Bhaktas, or Rama Bhaktas or anything like that. No. Unknowingly, then he will not become Sarvavyapi. The Sarvavyapitvam, the all-pervading nature, will exist in our mind only when he is there in everything and in everybody, Those who acknowledge him through the form, those who don't acknowledge him through the form, then only it becomes universal. A person staying in a remote village in a jungle, who knows nothing about the traditional form of spirituality or worship for the name God, God is there in him also, Then only the authenticity of the word all-pervading is true. That is why our Sanatana Dharma. Why it is Sanatana Dharma? It is there ever since the creation is there. Ever since the creation has come into existence, this theory, this truth is exposed to us. That is why it is called Sanatana. It is eternal. Whether we know him or not, whether we recognize him or not, whether we adore him or not, whether we worship him or not, whether we insult him or not, whether we deny him or not, he is still there. That is why he is called Sarvavyapti. That is why he is called Sarvashaktiman. That is why he is called Sarvajna. Intelligence is there in everybody. Creativity is there in everybody, Life principle is there in everybody. Consciousness is there in everybody. We start listing, what the common thing that is prevalent. As we become aware of it, that's the mind. For the time being, for the sake of concentration, you must be attached to one form of manifestation of God. That Ishtha, the adored deity of yours, on your surrendering yourself to him, is very important. We have developed some affinity towards Rama, Krishna, or Anjaneya, or anybody, but we are not surrendering. Surrender means we are accepting the all-pervading nature, all-powerful nature, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. So, next stage is surrender. When we do that, on your surrendering yourself to him, he takes you beyond name and form and makes you realize the all-pervading infinite eternal existence of God. When you want to climb upstairs, yes, talk about form. So Krishna's name and form are meditated upon only for attaining the impersonal Krishna who is residing in our heart and pervading everywhere. He has assumed a form for the devotees to concentrate upon. By itself, the devotees who have accepted that name and form as their guide will be raised beyond them in the vast, infinite, unmanifest existence. It is only then that the soul attains liberation and peace. This is the general rule, but there are exceptions. Without name and form, they have saved our lives. They keenly observe the changes of substratum upon which changes are happening. These three things. She saw a tree, Suddenly she realized, none of us can make a tree. What is the creativity? What is it that is growing? How does it grow into a tree? Suddenly she looked at the stars. They don't clash each other, It stays there. There is an orderliness. Though the sun does not rise or set, we know later on, initially we say sunrise, sunset, even now we say that. But later on when we started going to the school, we came to know that it is the world that is rotating. How does it rotate? Who propels the rotating? She started viewing it, keenly observing this cosmic power. That's why he said, upstairs, you can go by stairs, you can go by lift, you can go by rope. There are so many methods. But all reach there. So today, before we move to the next part of this exclusive remembrance from intellectual acceptance to experience through the form to the form. Intellectual acceptance also is necessary. That is what we gain from Shastras by hearing. Intellect does make us to memorize. It is not a hindrance. Beyond certain level is very hindrance. When we start proceeding, it will put half a dozen question and make us to stop. there we have to carry on. It's guidance given by our professors, our Shastra. We have to be on the process. And initially we also read out the most inspiring poem, where the river comes all the way traveling and then finally joins the ocean. When you go to beach next, you can see the river joining, At that time we can say the individual. After that there is no river there. Up to that there is a name of the river. Up to its joining, we will say it is this particular Chandragiri near ashram. There is a beach. There is a famous place called Bekal Beach. In the Bekal Beach, when you go, you will see the Chandragiri river joining it. Up to joining, it is named as Chandragiri River. When it joins, you cannot take off. The salt remains as a salt until it is put into the water. It becomes one with the entire quantity. It loses its individual existence. It becomes alternate, Sugar. So you have to still know it will not easily become. But then you see, it loses its individual identity and becomes one with it. So this is in our intellect helps us, no? But if we stop with that, it's only an intellectual exercise. With this background, we must take a leap. The river does not stop there. It just goes in further. The beautiful poem. It has traveled a lot to reach there, and it cannot go back. It's a wonderful word expression. It cannot go back. From the Vyavaharic sense, it is the incline, From the top, just floats, and it cannot go back. And through so many ways, it makes its own way reach up there. So many stones, so many trees, but it will all somehow find its own way and anxious to reach the spiritual aspirant of the Bhakta is like that yoga. That is also very, and Nama is the, chanting is the password. This has to be stamped in our heart. Chanting is the password. Where everybody is now computer knowledge, computer conscious, right? Computer friendly. Because he is computer friendly, he can easily understand this. To enter into Abhyudayi. We ourselves have given this barricade. And unless you type out that, you cannot enter it, The whole thing is there, reservoir is there. But I cannot enter if I don't type out even the person who has done this, if he has to enter, he has to do the password. When I forget, nowadays it will give you some approximating words. Have you forgotten the password? Something like, correct. So like that, chanting the password to connect to the divine being. Let us not take it. That's the password. Without password, I cannot enter. And when I enter it, my entire thing is mine. So these are all the things Papa is making us to very seriously on it. Let us accumulate as much as we can and try to eke out the maximum benefit. How do we do that? By doing them over. What is discussed, what is facilitated to dwell upon is again and again remembered. So that it gets stamped in our heart. Before every day we remember, when we used to attend Swami Chinmaya Gita lectures, he will not straight away start from that particular step. He will connect from yesterday. We did not know. Then finally, because he wants every one of us to carry the book with us. He wants us to take notes. He will give you pause moments. And then when he starts, then he will say, and this is how he will start. Continuing in the same style, like that he will say. Then he will start. So that the link is there. It is not independent. Yesterday's talk and today's talk, no. It is a chain. Equal to that. Continue to do it. So let us also try this, though we don't do that. Then only we will be able to take out the maximum. Because every day Papa is prompting us to dwell upon something, read out something. It is not without any purpose. It is with a purpose. There is an orderliness. There is a purpose behind it. So let us try to connect. Let us not take every day new things. For my progress, he is arranging everything in such a beautiful way. Every day we are taking one more step, going nearer to him. This we should keep on hammering. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram,